Waterlogged is a horror podcast and contains material not suitable for all audiences. Full content warnings can be found in the show notes. Listener discretion is advised.
You just want to go swimming. That's all. Not even swimming. Wading. Up to your knees. Hips, maybe. Just enough to cool off. It's hot. 3 digits. It's been hot. It's been hot and you've been working and you're hot. And there is so much sand. All over you. In your hair and in your shoes. In your pockets somehow. There is sand in places where sand should not be. You're just going to go in deep enough to rinse off. That's all. You've seen the sign. Of course you have. You've been working at the corn dog shack all day. Actually, you think that might be illegal. You're 16. There's probably some kind of law about how long you can work and, well, you're pretty sure it's less than 10 hours. So you've for sure seen the sign. And, okay, toxic algae bloom sounds pretty intense. But like, if it were actually dangerous, the beach would be closed, right? The whole thing, and not just the rocks by the tide pools. It's not like the water is going to stay put just because there's a sign. So you figure maybe somebody just forgot to take it down or something, and you'll be careful, and it'll be fine. You take off your shoes. Think about taking off your shorts, but your mom hadn't let you wear your bathing suit under your uniform, and you really don't want anyone to find out you've still got 1 or 2 pairs of pink granny panties in your wardrobe. And even if there's hardly anyone over there now, it's not worth betting your social future on it staying that way. The rocks are sharp. Like, really sharp. You wish you hadn't taken off your shoes so soon. You should have kept them on till you got down to the water. But you didn't. So, you pick your way over them, walking on the balls of your feet, past the sign, which has a sort of homemade look to it. And now that you think about it, might have been put up by someone trying to keep a little slice of beach empty for their own personal use. And down to where the waves hiss up over the sand and break into foam at the base of the rocks. The water is cold. Almost too cold. Is too cold compared to the feverish heat of your body after a day spent inside a fiberglass hut shaped like a corn dog. But cold is good. Too cold is better. The water feels wonderful, washing away the layer of sandy sweat that has worked its way into every available fold and crease of skin or clothes. You smile. Stand there for a while. Let the water leach the heat from your body as it gently rises and falls from calf to knee to calf again, like the breathing of great liquid lungs. Eventually, your feet begin to go numb. You should get out, you think. Your mom is probably already there to pick you up, and she hates having to wait. You can handle the heat now, at least long enough to get home and shower. So you turn around and start back toward the rocks. They are still sharp, jagged, and uneven under your heels, half hidden by foam. And your chilled legs are stumbling, uncoordinated. You're almost back to the sand when you step down and something shifts. You pitch forward, arms swimming wildly through the air before landing with a splash, just managing to catch yourself on your hands so you don't go under entirely. You stay like that for a second, the tide swirling in around you as you catch your breath. Shoot a quick glance around, hoping no one saw. But there's no one nearby. Just some kids throwing sand at each other down the beach, and a couple of surfers way out there. Thank God. You sigh, shake wet hair back out of your face, and stand up. The rocks have scored deep gouges down your legs. They look terrible, ragged scratches zigzagging over your shins, but they can't be that bad because they aren't bleeding and don't really even hurt. Just a little ache, a far-away whisper of pain. Thank God, because you still have to walk like half a mile to catch your ride. Much more carefully this time, you pick your way across the rest of the rocks, stuff your feet into your shoes, and head to the parking lot. Turns out, the scrapes really weren't that big a deal. You take a look at them after you're home and changed and showered, and yeah, they look awful. Look, in fact, like your skin had torn away like paper, exposing the soft tissue underneath. But there still isn't any blood, and they aren't even red. Actually, you're a little surprised at how pale they are. Stark white lines against your otherwise meticulously tanned legs, with wrinkled and puckered edges like fingers raisined from a bath. But red means infection, which is bad, so white must be good, right? You get ready for bed and think that by tomorrow they'll have started to heal. Or at least look more normal. It was just another stupid accident. Everything's going to be fine. And sure enough, when you wake up, everything is fine. The scrapes are still there, of course, but there isn't any blood today either. And no redness or heat, so hey, no infection. Plus, they don't hurt. Itch a little, maybe. But in the same way they'd ached before, the sensation faint and far away. The edges are still ragged and raised, and the insides are still white, but you look closer, and there's a sort of texture that wasn't there before. A roughness that's just barely visible. Healing, you think? But you're probably imagining it. But it seems like the scraped places have gotten bigger. Stretched and spread open like pale mouths, swallowing more of the tanned skin around them. Which is a stupid thing to think, and clearly hasn't happened, so you put on your uniform and go to work. Your legs itch. They itch a lot. This morning it had been a shadow, an echo. By noon, it's an overwhelming shout. You don't think it would be so bad if you were wearing pants or even proper shorts, but the polyester blend orange and yellow striped corn dog stand issued culottes end just below your knee, right over one of the worst scrapes, and every time you move, the cheap fabric catches on the torn skin. You discover you've been scratching at it absent-mindedly all afternoon when you go to refill the napkin dispenser, and notice you're leaving dirty smudges on the brown paper. You check your hands. There's blood under your nails. Look down and there's blood on your legs, too. You swear under your breath and grab a handful of napkins. Stick them under the tap, then swipe irritably at your shins. They're red now. You've scratched yourself raw. Little beads of blood well up on abraded skin all up and down your legs. It doesn't hurt, really, but it's going to if you don't lay off. Plus, your uniform is dry clean only for some reason. You dab at the scratches, and they still itch. You prop your right leg up on the counter to check out the damage. Oh, you've clawed the hell out of yourself, all right. But thankfully, it doesn't look like it's affected the cuts you got on the rocks. They're just like they were this morning. Flat, fish belly white, framed with torn but bloodless skin. They're also bigger. You're sure this time. You would have noticed if they were like this when you got dressed. If, instead of perfectly average legs, which you should have taken the time to shave, you had this. You can't call them cuts or scrapes anymore, no. They're far too big now. Wide patches of colorless tissue with only the thinnest strips of tan between them. The texture is different now, too. You graze it gently with a fingertip. The skin is cool to the touch and rough, almost scaly. But still entirely painless. You take your right leg down, prop up your left. It's exactly the same. Worse, maybe. One of the patches on that one is almost as big as your hand, spread out across your calf like a blind eye. It's ugly as hell, but it isn't red. And it doesn't hurt. So it's not infected. So you're fine. But it does itch. A lot. A lot. A lot. You need to distract yourself. Get back to work. That'll help. You try. You really do. But then it's 10 minutes later, and you still haven't moved. Your hands are balled in fists tucked into your pockets, and you're using every bit of willpower not to just say, "Fuck it," and rake your nails over whole and broken skin both. Because now that you've started thinking about it, you can't stop. And there is nothing important enough to distract you, and you think that you're going to go crazy if you don't do something about it. So maybe you should just scratch it a little. It's probably fine, right? You didn't really hurt anything before, and it'll feel so good, and then you'll be able to get back to work, and everything will be fine. Yeah. You need to get some air. You feel better once you're out of the corn dog. Yeah. Better. Totally. You just need a minute to clear your head. It was so hot in the hut. You weren't thinking straight. You'll be fine after a little break. And when you get home, you'll ask your mom to call the doctor. Maybe they can prescribe you a cream or something. You go and sit down on the cinder block wall that separates the beach from the parking lot next to a couple of kids not even trying to hide that they're smoking a joint. Take a couple of deep breaths away from the smoke. Tell yourself to ignore the army of crabs marching along on spiny little legs underneath your skin. Do not think about grinding your shins against the rough surface of the concrete, or about taking off your shoes and dragging your bare feet over the asphalt. Do not think about dragging the tips of your nails down your calves, around your ankles, across your instep, or throwing yourself down on the sand, grabbing handfuls of it, massaging the grit into your thighs, scouring the backs of your knees. There's a sound. like tearing the arms off a teddy bear. Close by. Loud enough to break through both your rasping thoughts and the crab army. You look up, and the kids have stopped smoking. They're staring at you, eyes big, mouths slack. You blink. Your hands aren't in your pockets anymore. Your nails aren't long. They can't be. You work in food service. But they're enough to get the job done. And while your brain distracted itself elsewhere, they've gone to work. And what work they have done. You've torn away quite a lot of skin. The thought flows up to you distantly as though surfacing from deep underwater. A far-away observation with almost no movements. It's hanging down your legs like seaweed, all brown and shiny and damp, tangled around itself in long coils, flashes of silver just peeking through. It's still stuck to you in places, though your hands are certainly working to change that, still moving busily, even as you're trying to tell them to stop. Underneath your legs are... there isn't any blood. They aren't even red. You're still so hot, that's what's wrong. You're baking. There's heat haze everywhere. It's messing with your eyes. You aren't thinking, aren't seeing right. You can't stay here. You have to get closer to the water. Where it's cooler, then you'll be able to breathe, and things will be all right again. You pull yourself unsteadily to your feet, start to cross the dead grass in the median, get onto the sand. Your legs feel wrong, stiff, like your knees aren't bending the way they should. Your steps are awkward, moving you forward in staggering jerks. The smoking kids are still staring at you, and now other people are too, but it will all be okay if you can just get closer to the water. So you keep walking. You don't know what happened to your shoes. They're gone by the time you get to the sand, but it doesn't matter. You're fine barefoot. Better than fine, actually. Wonderful. But walk faster, and with every step you can see something glitter. You're running now in a strange, straight-legged gait over the beach and down the slope towards the ocean. Someone's yelling. You don't know what. It doesn't matter. You're almost to the water. You need to get to the water. You're running now in a strange, straight-legged gait over the beach, down the slope towards the ocean. Someone is yelling at you, but you don't care. It doesn't matter. You're almost to the water. You need to get to the water. The glittering thing flashes brighter. 1,000 tiny sparkles of sun on waves. The air has gone strange. Thick and suffocating, and you're struggling to breathe. Your legs aren't doing what you tell them anymore. They twitch and spasm and sway in tandem, but still manage to propel you forward. It's okay. You're almost there. Almost, and then you stop. Everything stops. And you fall. There is a vast, overwhelming rush. A crash of gray-green and blue and flashing silver. You reach out your arms, open your mouth, your eyes, pull yourself deeper. Breathe in, water passing through your gills, cool and clear and perfect. Check out your fins lithe and powerful, silver scales flashing, and then there is nothing left except darting shapes and flickering shadows and the deep and endless silence of the sea.
Like a Fish to Water was written by Ash Seguinte and performed by Hera Alexander. It was edited by Ash Seguinte and sound designed by Daisy McNamara. It was produced by Ash Seguinte and Daisy McNamara. Our theme song was by Lou Sutcliffe. Follow us on social media at WaterlogPod. Links are in the show notes. Waterlogged is a production of Eel Song Studios and Law of Names Media.